Perhaps we'll get a couple people jumping in at 10:05 or a little bit after.
I'm going to pause recording, Juanita.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning, and thanks for joining us today. I'm Juanita Trabert, the Director of Sustainable Materials Management for the City of Newton DPW. And today I'm going to cover our new recycling mandate and kind of what has changed. And then we have Abby Massaro presenting from Recycling Works, which is a state-funded program to assist businesses and large residential properties with recycling programs and other sustainability initiatives. Okay, so I will get started, and mine should be very brief. So what has changed? In Newton, there was an ordinance passed this spring that requires all residential and commercial properties to recycle cardboard for this first year. And then effective July 1st of 2024, all properties in Newton are required to recycle all single stream recyclables, which includes cardboard, paper, and then plastic, metal, and glass containers. So I would say most folks in Massachusetts have residential access to single stream recycling. Some folks out west have dual stream recycling, but it would be all those same materials that would apply then to commercial properties starting next year. The other thing that changed in the ordinance is that any waste hauler that is permitted to offer trash collection service, they must also provide recycling collection service to their customers. So that's going to be something that we're looking at from Health and Human Services and the permitting process for those haulers. With this change, the city has decided to open up the drop-off recycling center called the Newton Resource Recovery Center, located at 115 Rumford Avenue, to businesses. It's always been open to residents, even residents that aren't served by the city's trash and recycling program. But now businesses that are located in Newton can drop off their cardboard and their single stream recycling. That was effective on July 1st. And we are offering some technical assistance and educational resources. I would say mostly it's going to be us referring businesses and commercial properties to Recycling Works and their technical assistance available, as opposed to kind of duplicating efforts and recreating the wheel. But we do have a couple of resources on our website. So if you just go to the city's webpage, newtonma.gov/recycling, and I have highlighted where you can access a newly created page that is for recycling for businesses and multifamily properties. So I urge you to contact us. Our email is recycling@newtonma.gov. And again, you can visit our website, newtonma.gov/recycling, for more information. And there will be, I would say, resources that continue to get posted there. Because this is a newer change, we are going to be adding more and more resources as this program evolves. So I'm going to stop my share and introduce Abby Massaro from Recycling Works.
Thanks, Juanita.
Hi, Abby.
Hi, thank you, Juanita, Allison, and the City of Newton for having us today. Feel free to type any questions for me or the city as well in the chat if you can, or the Q&A. We're happy to launch the questions after my piece. Just a second, I am organizing myself. Okay, so hello, Abby Massaro. I am here on behalf of Recycling Works in Massachusetts. We are, as Juanita said, funded by the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, and we are a free recycling and waste diversion assistance program available for all Massachusetts businesses. I'm going to talk a little bit about what our program does, the free resources we have available to you today and upcoming, and some of our success stories too of the businesses that we've helped implement recycling programs. Recycling Works is administered by the Center for Ecotechnology, or CET for short, who's an environmental nonprofit that I work for. And we do many other things over at CET as far as waste reduction and energy conservation, but I can't get into all those details today. But contact me if you want to know more. So the real backbone of our program is our free technical assistance that we offer in person and virtually. We have 2 upcoming dates that we're going to be in Newton and able and available to meet with businesses. So please contact us, but you'll see more those specific dates and how to reach us at the end of my session today. What does our technical assistance look like? When we're in person, we essentially walk the path that waste travels throughout your kitchen, hotel, office building, and we can really focus on any material or area of your building that you would like us to focus on, or we can do an overall sort of holistic look at what you currently divert for recycling or food waste collection, for example, and make suggestions on how to improve existing programs or implement something new. Like if you're new to collecting single stream recycling, we can help develop a plan to do so. So after our site visit, we develop written recommendations, whether that's sent an email or a larger, separate report. People use this as like kind of a game plan for implementing different programs. We link to resources. We include hauler contact information if you need a new or additional hauler for whatever material we're discussing while we're on site. We also create free waste bin signage, which I have some examples and I can show you those in just a minute. We can almost always include resources for staff training and engagement, which is a really important aspect to ensuring we're collecting clean streams of material. Our staff are on board and in the know on what does and does not belong in our recycling collections, including our material movers or porters who are ultimately responsible for emptying bins and getting material into dumpsters. Can help conduct a cost analysis to help share how these programs can affect the cost of your program, whether that's saving you money or perhaps costing you money. And we can do this virtually or in person. Like I said, we'll be in Newton 2 times in the next 2 months. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. In our state, we have waste bans. So these are materials that we actually can't throw away in our trash. So in addition to Newton's new ordinance, these materials such as bottles, cans, paper, and cardboard have already been not allowed in our trash for a while, and cardboard and paper has actually been banned since the 1990s. And many people are surprised to learn that that has been the case since there's still so much opportunity to recycle cardboard and paper, and still the most common material that it is thrown away in our trash, and that the Mass DEP offers enforcement on behalf of cardboard and paper most frequently. If you are throwing away these materials in your trash, you do risk enforcement from the Mass DEP. These materials there's a full list on our website. This is just a snapshot of what might be relevant to businesses on the line today. So commercial food waste, if you're generating a half a ton or more of food waste per week, you have to either reduce the amount that you're generating, donate your surplus leftovers, or collect your food scraps separately from the trash so that a hauler dedicated food waste hauler can collect that from you. Also effective November 1st, 2022, mattresses, textiles, and box springs can no longer be thrown away in the trash, although haulers never liked mattresses and box springs and in dumpsters anyways. Those were usually collected separately. And again, cardboard and paper, plastic, metal, and glass, bottles and cans, construction debris, and more. And you'll receive a copy of the slideshow, so you'll have all the links referenced in these slides. So what can we recycle in Massachusetts? This snapshot is taken from Recycle Smart, which is another initiative of the Mass DEP. And you can see this top row has what we can and want in our mixed recycling collections in Massachusetts, whether you're at home or work. The reason why they created this initiative, Recycle Smart, was that rules were sort of changing and a little different from place to place and town to town. So they took a survey of all the recycling facilities in our state and came up with this clear and concise message on what can and cannot be put in our recycling bins. So in general, metal, food and beverage cans, plastic, bottles, jars, jugs, and tubs, glass, bottles, and jars, replace the cap on both plastic and glass jars and bottles. Paper and cardboard, even pizza boxes, even with grease residue is okay. And then any of these materials, we don't want food or liquids. We do not want recycling in bags or bags placed loose in recycling bins. We consider those tanglers, including clothing or textiles, and wires and hangers. Those are all not to be included in our recycling streams. So this is the yes and no included on one slide. And if you have questions on whether or not something can be placed in your recycling bin, you can always access Recycle Smart's website. Has a Recyclopedia, which is a really great resource. I hope you're all writing down, or also you'll get the link here afterwards. But this is something you might want to share with your staff, your friends and family. As I don't know about you, but I always get questions on what can and cannot be recycled at the Thanksgiving dinner table, and I refer people to Recycle Smart. You can type in an item such as like a vitamin jar. Type that in and click search, and it will tell you whether or not it can be put in your recycling bin. And if you have something in mind that is not on this Recyclopedia, you can always call the Recycling Works hotline. At the end of my presentation today, I'll share with you our hotline, email, and phone number staffed by my real colleagues Monday through Friday, so you can ask a recycling question or locate a resource on our website or otherwise through that hotline. The reason why this is so important and was such a need in our state is that recycling contamination causes such major issues at recycling facilities. Contamination means putting materials in your recycling bin that don't belong, such as that bottom list. So mostly things like food, plastic bags, and other tanglers. I'd like to show this slide because it shows that people at recycling facilities actually handle the materials that come in. So there's a combination of hand sorting and mechanical sorting. So you can see here that when the wrong items end up at the recycling facility staff have to actually climb into that equipment and clean out the equipment, which causes facility shutdowns, extra costs, and is also super dangerous for these staff. So whether we're putting material in our recycling, our trash, our food waste bins, keep in mind that there's no way real people at these facilities handle materials. So it's always good to double check before, or the saying is, when in doubt, look it up on Recycle Smart and then toss it in the right. I wanted to show some common recycling contamination that maybe you didn't know before. We already covered plastic bags, small plastics like bottle lids have to be replaced, or caps onto the plastic or glass bottle or jar, as small plastics end up falling through the cracks at recycling facilities and cannot be recovered for recycling. Things like silverware, plastic straws cannot be recycled, although they're plastic. Items that contain the chasing arrow symbol or the resin code does not necessarily designate that something should be put in our recycling bin. That's just a resin code identifying what resin that item was made out of. So things like styrofoam has the chasing arrow symbol, but does not belong in our recycling bins. Most likely when we're recycling plastic items, we want to think, is this a bottle, tub, jug, or jar? And if so, it can go in our recycling bin. Now, the caveat is if it's a compostable container. As you can see, I included a picture of a compostable cup in the top left-hand corner here. It says bio cup, and around the ribbon it says compostable cup. Although it looks plastic, we want to check it out, make sure it doesn't say compostable on it. If it does say compostable on it, don't put that in your recycling bin. The paper cups and paper soup cups, although looks and feels like paper, it's actually lined with wax or plastic on the inside. So to keep the liquid in, so it can't be put. There's no way to separate the plastic from the paper at the facility. So that has to be thrown away unless otherwise specified that it's compostable. And of course, with hot coffee cups, you can recycle the cardboard sleeve on it. Black plastic can't be recycled, blends in with the optical, or blends in with the conveyor belts at the recycling facility, so the optical sorters can't see it, so that just gets discarded as trash. So please do not include black plastics in your recycling bins. And I included this guide table in this slideshow today, just to give you a snapshot of something that we can do the research for your business. If you are looking into food serviceware, if you're a food business, and you'd like to transition away from disposable or plastic food serviceware, we can put together some research for you, the different options available to you for compostable options, or if you want to transition to things like tin trays that are recyclable, we can put together this research for you as part of our technical assistance. I mentioned earlier that we create customized signs for the businesses that we serve through our technical assistance. We translate these signs, we customize them to be the actual materials found and encountered at your business so that your staff or your guests are matching what's in their hands with the items on the sign. So this is an example of our single stream signage that we have translated. We can get you pretty much any language you need and translate the signs for you. We can include your logos. And here's an example of a dual language food waste sign that we've also created and can customize. Again, signage is really important to label bins, wall spaces above bins for specific material streams. And it's also a great employee training tool. So these signs can be distributed via email to staff, or distributed out during a staff training in person, where you're going through the top section, which is the yes section, and then the no section of what does not belong in that material stream. And when implementing or strengthening a recycling program, collection equipment indoors and outdoors, which we're going to get into next, but collecting equipment indoors is an important consideration. As I just mentioned, signage has to be on the bins, above the bins as well. Color coding bins is a great way to also reinforce the recycling collection program. Maybe you have a commercial kitchen and it's not feasible to put a bin in a sign, or a sign with every bin. Bins are being moved around. You can color code the bins. As staff have been trained to see a blue bin, they know to put number 10 cans and vinegar jugs in that blue bin. So the top row is a great model of good signage and color coding. The bottom row is a way to collect your recycling at the same time that trash is being collected to help ensure an efficient collection program. So you can see the bottom left-hand corner, the root barrels are dollied. Recycling goes in the blue bin, trash goes in the gray bin. And I wanted to show the utility cart in the bottom right-hand corner, because this was something that a business already had and used to collect trash. When they implemented their recycling program, they ended up using a clear plastic bag just with binder clips attached to the utility cart to keep bottles and cans and paper and cardboard separate from bag trash, which you can see is on the right-hand side. So we encourage using what you already have in place for your program, and there's ways that we can think through to collect recycling at the same time as trash and keep those streams separate. Where they ultimately end up at the dumpster. Now, a common way that we can help businesses through our technical assistance is if you currently are limited on space for additional dumpsters, or you only have room for one, your current footprint of your trash dumpster, but need to add recycling services, there are ways that we can reconfigure your dumpster setup to allow for additional streams. For example, my favorite dumpster, I don't know if you all have a favorite dumpster, but I do. It is the 2-yard dumpster on wheels that you can see in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. It's really nice because it has different colored lids, really drawing attention to that. It's a separate stream for recycling. It also is on wheels, so it's easily moved around your facility. It can be tucked away while it's being loaded and then pulled out on the day that it needs to be emptied. It's a great option for mixed recycling. Cardboard, bottles, and cans can all go in this dumpster. The two-wheeled cart or toter is the industry term here. It comes in all various sizes too. Largest is usually a 96-gallon. Smallest is usually a 32-gallon, which is not commonly used for recycling, but rather food waste collection. That is a great option too. It can be stowed away in a loading dock. The footprint for these carts are really small. Great option for bottles and cans recycling. Paper as well can be put in here. Cardboard's a little bit bulkier, so something that we typically encourage cardboard to be stacked next to the cart on day of service. Again, something to confirm with your hauler, and we are really talking to haulers all the time, so we're happy to confirm these details with your current hauler or prospective haulers, as in, do you offer two-wheeled carts? Do you have 2-yard dumpsters on wheels? Where can cardboard be placed if you can only fit enough, or if you only have enough space for toters? Then we can help work with you and your hauler through those conversations. There's other outdoor equipment. If you're a really large generator, you might have a compactor for single stream recycling or a dedicated baler for cardboard recycling. And also this is an example of a dock style dumpster that's easy to be loaded from a dock. So yeah, many options out there for equipment. We're here to help make this process as easy as possible for you, give you all the options, talk to your haulers, and ultimately ensure that these programs succeed. So don't think that you have to be an expert in dumpsters. That is where we can help. It might seem tedious to some. However, this is a resource that we created for businesses because they asked us for it. Many businesses prefer to collect recycling in bags so that the bins used inside of your building are lined with plastic bags, because it helps keep those bins or carts clean. But we ultimately want to make sure that that plastic bag does not end up in the recycling dumpster that the hauler is going to pick up. Again, plastic bags are contaminants in recycling collections. But you can use them, and this visual is showing here a cart Utility cart, again, clear bag for recycling was used to line the recycling bin. Black or gray bag for trash collection. The recycling is then emptied out of the bag and into the dumpster. And then the bag's either reused or thrown away in the trash. So a great training tool. We have so many resources on our website for training, so please let us know what you need. We might already have it or we can create it. And a fantastic success story, Wyman's Liquors. They got a failed load letter from the Mass DEP. They were only using one compactor for trash. They consulted with Recycling Works for some assistance. Hey, how can we develop a cardboard recycling program? They ended up transitioning their cardboard compact or their trash compactor to a cardboard compactor, delivered a front load dumpster for trash, and bolstered their bottle redemption and bottle and can recycling program. And they divert now 90% of their waste to recycling. And in the first year of this updated program, they saved $7,000 in disposal costs. So just an example of how we can help businesses come into compliance with state and town required recycling laws. Resonate is a business in central Massachusetts. I wanted to highlight their great use of our signage here in one of their common, I think this was a break room. They have recycling collection and trash collection. We worked with them to develop this bin inventory spreadsheet, which is on this slide, which again might seem a little tedious to some, but they needed a resource to tally all of the bins in use at their facility. And identify where they could relocate bins that were really in overpopulated areas to bins where they needed, to areas where they needed more recycling bins. So it was also a way to identify where signage can be placed above bins and help direct staff to what bins to use for recycling and trash, maybe food waste. So this resource is available for you to use, and the idea is to repurpose what you already have in place, so maybe you don't have to buy additional recycling bins. And I've alluded to staff training and employee engagement a little bit here, but this is a great example of Sanofi had waste watchers and volunteers talk to their staff about what materials belong in recycling, food waste, and trash collection. They used our signage to improve their sorting. They originally just had little button symbols for trash, recycling, and food waste, but really needed additional signage with additional information. So they used our signs and the T page protectors that just simply went right above each opening for each material stream. I wanted to end on Recycling Works is here to help you strengthen your existing programs or implement a new recycling program. We can help with any material that your business generates, from surplus food to food scraps to cardboard recycling, film plastics, single stream recycling, battery recycling. However we can help you, we are here, and we're really going to be in Newton helping businesses July 26th and August 22nd. So you can contact us. There's also our information on the City of Newton's website if you would like us to come by your place of business for a waste assessment or just to talk to you about recycling. We would be happy to do that in our upcoming downtown drawdown days. And this is my contact information where you can reach me directly, as well as our hotline information, email, phone number. It's really, you really can't miss us. If you give us a call, you will be helped. So I think we're ready to launch into some Q&A. I'll hand it back over to Juanita to stop sharing. See if any questions came in.
Sorry, my office phone is ringing and I don't have a way to turn it off, so we're just going to ignore that. Thank you so much, Abby, for that great information. And we did have some questions come in through the Q&A that we were responding to in writing. We have a small group today, so what we thought we would do is ask folks if they want, like, we can promote everyone to a panelist so that they have the ability to unmute and ask questions, and we can kind of turn this into more of a discussion. I think that will probably be helpful to folks. And again, it's completely optional, but I'm going to do the promoting right now. I think that's
Oh,
everything.
these were some great questions. Thank you, Anita, for those. Yeah, typically haulers do not provide interior recycling bins either. So those are something typically the business either purchases or repurposes, like I mentioned a few times. Yes, Alexis.
I guess our main concern is that right now we obviously have a lot of larger, we have office and retail tenants. So we and what'd you say? Oh, and restaurants. But like for example, one building right now, we do have a smaller recycling container that we do recycle cardboard in. And we even have a tenant that does composting because they have a flower shop. But I guess for one or two buildings in particular, we are very short on space. So we do have a compactor. And we discussed getting like a split body compactor, but a lot of companies have told us they are not good and they break in that they don't recommend them. So I guess our only other option really is to get another dumpster, which we will have to put in the middle of a parking lot because we don't have space for it. But I guess my main concern is that like where our office is, we probably have 5 or 6 restaurants that are probably those that accumulate the most cardboard, which isn't necessarily really my concern. It's more like all of our office tenants now that are now going to be required to not only like recycle their cardboard, but now separate their glass and whatever. And then I'm guessing that means now that we as the landlord, because I can tell you now that that's what all of our tenants are going to tell us, is that since we have to make them now recycle, they're going to make us now eat the costs to provide everyone recycling materials, I guess that is. And then I guess my question is how do we make sure that they're really doing that correctly, I guess, right? So like we have one building in which we have like a closet on each floor that like we have a big, you know, trash can, and then we can put a big recycling trash can. Will the city provide those big blue ones like they do in the city of Boston, or are we now required to purchase those as well? And then when we do then bring those to the recycling, like how do we, like I know in the past, like obviously they can check what you're recycling and you're not recycling, but what is the best way, I guess, to make sure that they're actually doing it? I mean, I don't really have time to go to hundreds of tenants and make sure each person is separating their glass from their cardboard, etc.
Of course, yeah. Abby, do you want to start?
I'll start. I think so we're primarily the way that we recycle in our state is through single stream recycling. So firstly, I would also suggest that we definitely come by and meet with you, Alexis, on one of those 2 days and sort of look at.
I did just fill out that thing.
So we go through and look at the loading dock, your current compactor setup. And typically cardboard bottles and cans are collected together. So you're not going to separate different carts for each material. Recycling is mixed together. Okay, just want to make sure that we're on the
Because I
same.
think our main like concern too is, I mean, our contract with our trash hauler right now will expire at the end of the year, and that's a different story, but
Yeah.
like they would not pick up the recycling if like you had mentioned, like maybe put cardboard to the side and then put, you know, like they wouldn't pick it up. They wouldn't even
Yeah,
get
they
out.
won't tell us correct. I get it. So, and that's something too, as part of our assistance, we'll put together a list of haulers you can look at for the end of
Okay.
the year. So that's a great way to figure out a plan, is with a new hauler, or modifying your contract with your existing hauler.
And then I know, like, we have a tenant that's like a pizza shop and one that's a Vietnamese restaurant. And one of the things that like I learned was about like contaminated cardboard. So
Mm.
that cardboard that gets like oil or grease or food on it cannot be recycled.
Can be recycled.
It can.
Can be recycled. Yes. And
Is there any cardboard that like can't? Because a lot of restaurants will fight with us and be like, it's contaminated. And so then they put it in the dumpster and then.
wax cardboard. So like
Wax.
the meat boxes.
Okay,
And that's something, Alexis, we should, as part of our assistance, recycling works can meet with each individual business. I think that would be a really good idea too,
Sure.
to like answer their specific questions.
Okay.
So whether that's this day that we're gonna come meet
right.
you, or maybe once we have figured out a plan for this location, to say like, okay, we're gonna start working with, Republic. We're gonna have a single stream recycling dumpster here, trash compactor there. And then we start educating the customer or your
Okay.
tenants on like,
Right.
this is a recycling mandate. We all share responsibility in complying with it. And maybe a third party conversation can help address their
No,
There.
it would be really good because Nancy and I have, gone to like some of those tenants, because we walk by the compactors every once in a while and we're like, why is there so much cardboard? We have, 6 toters here right now. And they'll be like, well, it's contaminated. It can't be recycled. So, I mean, I think,
we've definitely met before.
yes, we have, you've come to our Langley property. But I mean, we definitely have some tenants who are like very into recycling. Like I only found out about this mandate from our tenant Thistle and Leak, because
Oh,
They-
interesting.
they were all concerned because they now pay for their own recycling. So that was a whole nother thing, but I guess the other thing too is those handouts that you have, where can we get access to those? So that I can like send those pieces of paper to all our tenants so they know what is recyclable and what's not and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, depending on the tenant, the signage might look a little bit different. So
Okay.
we create a few, like for the pizza shop, like a lot of cardboard and like number 10 cans, but for the offices, it could be like mostly drink bottles and cans.
Right.
And paper, office paper and things like that. So let's create a few different versions.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm not the one that's going to be doing the site visits,
Okay.
but my colleague Emma will be there, and we'll pull her in on our past site visit and what I think the plan should be, and then she'll be meeting with you. So she won't
Okay.
be starting from scratch with her, but I think that is a really good idea to actually physically hand out the signs. With your contract change, it's a really great time to like just ask your hauler if they'll give you bins. Maybe
Right.
they'll throw them in.
Okay.
And I completely X'd out of my presentation, but I think that we should entertain the color-coded dumpsters, like with the lids.
Mhm.
And if I remember correctly, at the site we went to, like the carts that you have there for recycling, maybe having those be the 2-wheel dumpsters instead.
Right.
They can fit the cardboard. They can swap out the color lids to be really like
Yeah.
eye-catching.
The only problem with that current site was like something too big would get in the way of the compactor, and then they won't pick up the compactor if they can't just back up and empty it and drive away. So it gets really hard because like if there's one bag of trash in front of the compactor, like they just won't pick it up.
Mm.
So we also have that problem too sometimes. So
Bring that up with any conversations you have with future hires as like an area to work with us, please.
okay, yeah.
And we're happy to, like we've talked about in the past, like sit in on those conversations. I would like
Right.
to also say that, and I think you know this, but those contracts auto renew without warning. So just make
Mhm.
sure you're sending your certified cancellation.
Yes. We know, we're very cognizant of when our contract expires, because
Okay,
Uh,
wonderful.
unfortunately, we haven't had the best trash experience. So,
Yeah, it's tough. It is it's not seamless sometimes, and hopefully with the contract changes
I
especially.
also had to get like a noise ordinance waiver from the city of Newton because our trash company tried to say that they weren't allowed to pick up the trash in the morning. You know, it wasn't even our property, and then they weren't even coming. They stopped picking up our trash for like 2 weeks. It was,
Wow.
it's very, it's very frustrating.
mm,
And we create a lot of trash. We have like, 10 restaurants in this whole little Piccadilly Square.
God, I saw your names. I was like, wait a minute, we've
Yes, and we've been trying. It's just, it's, like, there's only so many times you can preach something before someone
yeah.
starts just fully ignoring you. But now that there's like and granted, I don't know. I guess the question is I know that you came before because like they looked at our trash or what was coming out of the dumpster or whatnot. But I guess after this mandate happens, what gets done like moving forward if a business or a company is found to not be recycling correctly or doing what they're supposed to be doing, I guess.
Yeah, so the way that the ordinance is structured, there is enforcement mechanisms. I would say the enforcement mechanisms are fines.
Okay,
I would say from the perspective of DPW, and this is also in conjunction with the health department, because they're actually the entity that permits the haulers. There's a
Okay.
couple of different avenues that we can go down. And so one is to pursue, we want to pursue every educational opportunity that we can. And I would say enforcement is only likely to happen when someone is willfully not engaging, not participating, and like blatantly refusing to adhere to the ordinance. At that time, we could have a couple of avenues. The way that the ordinance is structured, it is the property owner's responsibility. And that was just kind of like the legalese way of being able to have an accountable party.
Right.
There's also responsibility for the hauler to be ensuring that they are not picking up materials that are banned from disposal. So I would say both of those avenues are what we would pursue. And I do think that this can get down into like, more granular levels as far as like leases with tenants.
Right.
And
I mean, like I've jumped in our dumpster before and like literally have Nancy and I both, I'm like, how many times have I told this person they need to recycle and I see them just throw their little cardboard box from their store in the dumpster.
mhm.
I prefer not to continue to have to dumpster dive to do that, but
Definitely not. Yes. And I would say that's not our expectation
No.
either. I would encourage you to look at like the way that your lease language is structured and include something like you as a tenant, you must adhere to all local, state, and federal laws or something very basic like that. And that gives you kind of this leverage to basically say like you're not following a local law.
Right.
And so I don't know what other kind of, I'm not into.
No, that's good. I know we're gonna have to do like we talked about there's gonna need to be a lot of lease addendums because right now obviously people do pay for trash, but the amount of money that is going to increase by our now recycling and different things will obviously increase the price of trash. And so that is a good idea. I wrote that down. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the way to bake in accountability. Abby, do you have anything about that?
We do.
Okay.
Yes, I was just gonna say, when we follow up on our recommendations, Alexis will include some like tenant letters that we've drafted.
Okay,
You can just
amazing.
like copy and paste,
Yeah.
and edit as much as you'd like.
Okay.
And with the contract change, which I keep harping on, I would really encourage you to, and we can help to do the cost analysis to say this is what you're currently paying for trash. And pulling that additional material out of that trash stream, since the compactor there is being weighed and you're paying per weight on that, I assume. The diversion and cost to the recycling program, we hope saves you money, especially with
Right.
the high volume of cardboard there. And hopefully that's a positive change when you're evaluating pricing at the end of the year.
Yes,
So loop us in if you need help with that.
of course, definitely. Thank you.
Welcome.
Great conversation and questions. Does anybody else have anything kind of top of mind of impacting them?
Hey, I already put it in the chat, but basically, because I have a two-family, and it wasn't clear. As soon as I saw the language multifamily, I'm like, wait a minute, something changing for us. So I think any language around two families are excluded is definitely going to be helpful, because I nearly had a kitten when I saw it.
My
I
goodness,
saw
yes.
multifamily. I was like, wait, does that mean me?
No, that's a great point, and I really appreciate that feedback that it's unclear the way that we have it written right now. I'm curious where you heard about this, or if you were like, if we contacted you with a commercial property letter, or if there's...
I can't know. Actually, I think some part of I get the chamber newsletter, and I think that's where I first saw it.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you so much.
Right. Yeah, but however, the first thing I did was I reached out to one of the counselors, and they didn't have an answer either. So that's another
not surprise me.
Yeah, exactly. So you might want to do some counselor education too.
We can definitely do that.
Yeah, they're going to be fielding some of these calls.
Definitely. I would say as things continue to evolve, we'll have more resources and do more outreach to kind of that sector, that swath of our community. The counselors, other departments that are being contacted, things like that, to just try and get everyone up to speed on it. We're a little, I would say, behind in kind of like a timeline of where we would want to be for that. So expect more information to be coming out, I would say in the next couple of weeks. Okay,
cool. All right, good. Well, thank you. Appreciate all of this information, because I was one that didn't recycle the pizza boxes because I thought any kind of grease, you couldn't do that. So this was helpful.
So that did used to be true. And I
Yeah,
want
okay.
everyone to know that too, like that we're not, changing the information. It's over time, the technology at like recycling facilities has evolved. And so they're now able to process it without issue, whereas before it used to cause problems.
Okay.
So that's like a change in the last 5-10 years.
Okay, wow, so I'm way out of date.
It's not uncommon at all. And, that's part of our trouble at the local level, is just trying to get this information out in a kind of regular and timely fashion. And it's just very challenging.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. And maybe you might want to also do like a sort of before and after, whatever. These things you couldn't recycle, but now you can recycle.
That's a good idea, definitely, to do kind of like this used to be true, and now this.
And now it's not exactly. Just
that's
like
a great idea.
Yeah.
Social
Thank you.
Throw it on Facebook.
Definitely.
Yeah, and definitely put it on Facebook. Yeah, with a QR code, so they can just kind of scan to the page with all of the information.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. Excellent. Anybody have any other questions? Okay, if not, we can wrap up a few minutes early. Thank you all so much for being on today. And this is being recorded. So if you want to share it with any of your colleagues, friends, family, etc., that it might apply to, please feel free to do that. We're also holding a second webinar. I think it's August 1st, so in 2 weeks. That'll have really the same information for anyone who wants to hop on for some Q&A as well. Thank you all so much, and have a good day.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and we're going to get emailed the link to the recording then?
That's a great question. I can be sure to have that happen.
Okay.
And copy of the slides, the recording.
Yeah.
If you
that'd be great.
the webinar, we should have your email address.
Exactly. All right, great,
Yeah.
wonderful. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Have a good
Thank
day.
Okay,
you.
bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.